Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I want to talk about decoy guns. Okay, a very important concept. Especially as we move forward, and you got like guys like Beta Male or Rock talking about taking away everybody's ARs and everybody's AKs. You want to have decoy guns so that if we ever did have door-to-door confiscation, you are in a position to say, okay, here's a few guns, go away now. Okay. Um, One of the things that I tell people is, don't be stupid. The time to fight government is not when they're at your front door. Okay, if you're gonna fight a fight, you fight it on your terms. Okay, when and where you're ready to do it. You don't fight it when they're at your door. So when they show up at your door and they say we're here to take your guns, um, you know you give them some guns and you make them go away, because you're not going to win that battle. It's more important that you stay alive so that you can fight successfully another day. Because it's not a matter of just dying gloriously. Okay? It's a matter of winning gloriously. That's what we want to do. We want to win gloriously, okay, not die gloriously. So for that reason, we need to have decoy guns so that if there's ever a gun confiscation, you can say, here, take the cheap guns and go away. Now, to that end, I recommend buying lots of cheap but reliable guns. Okay, don't buy junk. Don't buy junk guns just so that you have something to give to them. A great option is these palmettos. Okay, this palmetto, paid $350 for it. Got a $100 scope on it. $100 red dot on it. This is just as good and reliable as a Colt. I've shot them. I shot the two side by side, same groupings. The gun shoots really well. So for $350, you can buy 4, 5, 6 of those, and hide them at different locations. Okay, because preferably you don't want all your eggs in one basket. You want to be able to hide your guns in different places. As many different places as possible. ARs are really good for burying because the gun is mostly plastic and aluminum, so it's going to be somewhat resistant to rust. So in a pinch, I mean, basically you could just throw this in a plastic bag and bury it in the dirt. And even though some moisture may get into the bag, there's a good chance that it's not going to harm the gun because most of the parts are made out. The gun is mostly made out of aluminum, especially on the outside. So this gun will do pretty good. So these palmettos are great decoy guns. It's an opportunity to buy lots of cheap guns so that if you ever have to give something to satisfy them, say, here, take the gun and go. AKs, is another possibility, although they're a little bit more expensive today. But Romanian AKs are great guns. They're not super expensive. So you want to have a couple of AKs. And another great decoy gun, Glocks. Okay, Glocks pretty cheap. $500, $550 for a new one. You can get the cheap, a used one, a good used one for $400. But these guns, these are guns that you can have multiple guns. Store them at different locations. Be prepared to, bury them in a hole in the ground if you need to, or sheetrock them inside the wall, or bury them under your basement or in your attic, or whatever your situation is. And the nice thing is, if you got several Glocks, they're all gonna kind of look the same. So if you bury one and you have another one to shoot, you're not gonna miss the fact that you've got one in hiding, and you're not gonna get to shoot it for a very, very long time. Same thing with the palmettos. If you got 2 or 3 palmettos that all look the same, I mean, you're not going to care that you have a gun sitting in the ground that you're never going to get to shoot, because you got another one just like it. Okay, so that is an important psychological feature. I want any gun that I hide and put away, I want to have an identical one that I can shoot, or multiple identical ones. The other cool thing is that these black guns all kind of look the same. Most people that don't shoot really can't tell the difference between an AK-47 and an AR-15. Okay. So that's kind of good for us. Okay. These guns, most people will just look at these and say, they'll just say guns. Especially these black scary guns. They look pretty much the same to most people that don't know guns. So here's the thing, very important. If we're ever let's say we're in a Civil War type of situation, there will absolutely be door-to-door, searches and confiscations. Okay. All countries that have gone through civil wars have experienced this. Every country that's had a dictatorship or a dictator take over, has experienced this. So you can expect that there will be door-to-door searches and confiscation. So that's why you need a lot of guns, and you want to be in a position where, because they may, the chances are that they'll come to your house and they say, okay, we know that you have guns because you've come up you've come up as having gone through background checks several times. So we know you got guns. So you want to be able to say, okay, here are the guns and go away. Okay. It's my firm opinion that it's a lot easier to hide guns if you have bought 20 or 30. Okay, because if you bought 20 or 30 guns, it's a lot easier to basically hide 5 or 6 or 7 guns, or even 10 guns, okay, versus if you've only bought, let's say, 4 guns in your life. Okay, it's a little bit harder to say, okay, here are the 3 guns and I'm hiding 1 gun. It's actually a lot easier to hide 5 or 6 guns if you bought more guns. So keep that in mind. Because a lot of people think that if they buy lots of guns, they're gonna end up on some type of a list. If you come up on a list that's having, I think you're gonna end up on that list regardless of whether you bought 1 gun or if you bought 30 guns, and it's a lot easier to hide a few guns if you just have bought a lot of guns. Now, another thing for you guys to consider, and this is very, very important, as of this date, we're at the end of September 2019. There is no universal background checks on rifles and shotguns, on long guns. Okay, that's very, very important to us. Okay, because what that means is that it is legal for me to privately sell these guns without having to go through having to go, or rather, the purchaser having to go through a background check. So that gives me deniability. If in the future they show up at my door and say, okay, you've gone through background checks 20 or 30 times, whatever, where are the guns? I will simply say that I sold them privately when it was legal to do so, and at the time I was not required to keep any records, so I don't know where the guns went. And that would sound very reasonable, okay? So the lack of universal background checks gives us deniability in the future if they ever decide that they're going to take the guns away from us. Okay, so that's another reason why in fact, it makes sense. That puts you in a position to be able to say, yeah, I came up 20 or 30 times, as having gone through a background check, but it's because I kept buying these guns and I didn't like them, so I kept selling them off and buying some type of a replacement. Okay, so buying lots of guns and going through background checks, does not hurt your ability to hide guns. Okay, now on the handguns, it's a little bit more it's just a step more difficult, because on the handguns we do have universal background checks. Basically, you cannot privately sell a handgun. So the deal with this is that we still have some protection with the handguns, in the sense that the background check is on the purchaser, not on the seller. Okay. So, for example, even though, let's say I own 5 or 6 or 10 or whatever number of Glocks, okay, if I decide that I now want to sell it, right? So let's say I'm going to sell it to you that's watching me. So me and you, we go to the gun store, right? We fill out the paperwork. The background check is done on you. It's not done on me, okay? So you show up, as a ping, you just bought a gun, okay? But they don't know that I just unloaded a gun, okay? That doesn't show up anywhere, okay? My name does not appear on the paperwork that you fill out. Okay, the only thing that shows up there is, the name of the FFL, and the buyer of the gun. So even with handguns, I still have a level of deniability. I can say that, yeah, basically I bought whatever 50, 100 handguns, and then what happened is that I ended up selling them because I didn't like them or whatever. I needed the money. And I did this legally. I went to the gun store, with the purchaser, and he did the back. He went through the background check. I gave him his gun, and and that was the end of that. So again, it's not a problem that your name has might come up a lot of times as having gone through a background check, because it's always, you can always say that you sold it, and they don't track the sellers; they only track the buyers, and the buyers are able to, to legally sell the guns. right? So something for you guys to be aware of. But you need decoy guns, which is why I'm a firm believer in owning lots of cheap, reliable guns. Okay, I prefer that approach versus having a $2,000 Daniel Defense or a, a $3,000-4,000 Scar. With those type of guns, the guns are only marginally better. Okay, um, and you've got all your eggs kind of in one basket. Okay, so I'd rather see you guys with with 10 of these Palmetto AR-15s than one Scar that costs like $4,000. Okay, so some for you guys to think about. If you got any comments, feedback, any other ideas, I'm looking to you guys as well for your ideas. You guys can also kind of help each other out, in the comments section, by giving ideas. So by all means, get down there and post something. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it. I'll see you guys next time. Oh, if you're not a member, please subscribe.